Hi, everyone. Hello, hello. Nick is putting in a light fixture behind me, so you guys don't have to hear. How is everyone? So if I periodically peek down, it's because I have these little munchkins around me. My pups are here. They're finally here. And the little guy, he's not so little that my in-laws gave him way too much food, but he's like every 2 seconds trying to like paw at my legs. So I'm not gonna lie, I miss the hell out of them. I'm gonna pick him up throughout this. So just so you know. Okay, today I'm really excited to, as I always say, habit at this point, to talk about something that I think is really important. This week, I call this week purgatory because it's like the week between Christmas and New Year's, where it's like time doesn't exist the same way. I don't understand. Does anyone else feel the same? Tell me in the chat. Do you notice that this week it's like a very different kind of vibe? Traditionally, like every year. So I call it our purgatory week. And I find that there's a fine line. I can't push a lot of new stuff this week. I can't push you guys. You've seen on your calls, we've been pretty mild and stuff because this week is a weird vibe. So next week, and we all see this, diet culture aside, it's like New Year's is the marker for starting something new. It's just, and it's understandable. I've mentioned it before, attaching a routine to a routine. But the week prior, it's almost like we buy into the idea of having less motivation. I do myself. It's kind of, you can fall into the trap of wanting to unwind, wanting to relax. Like everyone should look at every opportunity to unwind or relax, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily need to set a lower bar for yourself for this week. Okay, so, but that being said, if I push, that may all be true, but there's only a certain degree that you guys will, I don't know, not distance until January 1st anyway. So I wanted to cover a topic that is one of those, I hope someone needs to hear it kind of things. Okay, and bear with me if I'm not the most eloquent today. I am so tired. We were up until like way after 4 in the morning, getting the house puppy proof so my in-laws can drop them off. So I am like, and I had calls all day long. So my brain is a little like, whew, but we're going to try. Okay. And then we have the lovely Dana. Dana is going to be in our client spotlight this week. So first we're going to tackle this one super important, but something you may have heard before topic. And then we're going to call Dana up here. I'm going to pin her up at front and I'm going to ask her some questions. And I don't know, I love talking with Juliana last week. This is super fun. How do you guys feel about the whole client spotlight thing? Are you into it as a feature? I'm going to get my heavy cream as you answer because I have a cup of decaf right in front of me. When am I going to be the client spotlight? Well, we got lots of opportunities here. Let's see. It's a different type of stress this week. I like that, Christy. I agree. It's like a sleepy stress. Love it. Digging it. What am I going to be? I love it. Okay, cool. So it's always so different. It's like if you have me saying the same stuff all the time, it's like if you hear a teacher say something and then you hear your friend say it. They're saying the same shit, but it just kind of means something different coming from a peer, it's more real. So love it as well. All right, our topic today, self-sabotage. So this is there's a couple parts to it. And the first one is realizing when you do it, that you do it, etc. And the majority of us are at that point where we can recognize that we have that tendency, or, we used to do that, or it's something that we're still working through. But kind of figuring out how to stop that self-sabotaging behavior. It's the theme here is that we settle into the idea that we can't change how we typically are. Right, well, I have nothing to stir my coffee with. I guess a finger it is. Anyway, it's so good. It's raspberry chocolate. But spotting self-sabotage and then knowing how to change it without being loyal to the concept that we can't change it. That's important. And it used to piss me off when things were posed to me as a choice. Like I could choose to feel a certain way, or I could choose to think a certain way. And I found it to be kind of invalidating. So, but I want to explain kind of what I mean by that. And we'll get into it. I'm going to describe how to pinpoint it, and then I'm going to give you some tips on how to fix it. Okay. So some self-sabotaging type of behavior, might be spilled milk, where I've used this example before, but for the newbies, where you feel like, I have a cookie, shit, I ruined the whole day. The day's shot, the day doesn't matter anyway. So I'll start again tomorrow. And then you end up compiling, more harmful things on top of it because it's like a pass, right? It's like spilling milk and then going to the fridge and getting the gallon and being like, well, screw it, I'll dump out the gallon because I spilled a little milk. I've definitely been there. This always happens. The quote, this always happens. If you're claiming that this is what always happens, first of all, I guarantee you it's not always what has happened in the past, because if it just happened over and over and over and over and over again with nothing different from situation to situation, you probably wouldn't do it exactly the same way, right? But when we think of this always happens, it's kind of like we're putting ourselves, we're sabotaging ourselves into this place of hopelessness. Because if it always happens, I don't have to believe that I can try again and it not happen. I don't have to believe that good things could happen, because it would be disappointing when they didn't. But are you any less disappointed when something happens and you say to yourself, this always happens? It doesn't actually make it any less of a blow, right? You're not less disappointed because, oh, I knew it. This always happens. But I've definitely fallen into that trap of like, I'm cursed, Same thing with I can't change. No, I mean, we can sit here, we can argue, do people change? Do people not change? Absolutely. But the foundation of that is, if you want to change, if there is something you want to change, you can at least change it to something that is productive or efficient or not harmful to yourself. And that all starts with a choice, which I'll explain. I will explain. I've been trying my hardest, and here's the distinction. I don't want to sound like an asshole, but I'm going to be as real as possible, because this is the realness I have given to myself in the past as well. I have wrongfully put my frustration on something not working because I didn't want to look truly at my own commitment to consistency. Because really, when I talked myself around with that, what happened was I had every reason why it was harder to do something, but it wasn't like those were reasons that it had to be that case. So, I've been trying my hardest, but I really haven't been, was my own, instead of wanting to look in and I'm not saying this, like, there will be some of you who have tried or are trying your hardest, and I'd say this all the time. It took me a long time to get my own results. I get the frustration, but I've also been on the other end where it was easier to feel forsaken and cursed and stuck and all those things, because I was frustrated that I couldn't figure out what I wasn't getting right. I wasn't staying 100% consistent, or I found it easier to wallow in that negative feeling and feel like it can never change, and I've been trying my hardest, than it would be to be mad at myself, now realizing that I didn't have to be mad at myself. But that fear and saying, I try my hardest, damn it, this sucks, and almost like a distancing, like I'm going to push it away, I'm going to give up on this before it has a chance to screw me over, before it has a chance to disappoint me. How many of you guys have been on that side of things in the past? Man, I really want something to stir my coffee with. Oh, I do have something still. Okay. I'm just going to use this random plastic knife that was right here in my slowly coming together home. Okay. Let's see. my favorite topic, still working through it. It's ableist. Everyone says hi. It's like getting lost and continuing to drive in the wrong direction. Oh, you're speaking my love language with the analogy. I love it. Been there. Like you're fibbing yourself, like skiing yourself out. I've never heard that term before, but I am not current on terms, so I don't, but I get what you're saying though. It's like you're psyching. Okay, I was like, is skiing yourself, like, is that a thing I haven't heard? I'm gonna embarrass myself. But we're gonna make it a thing. Let's make, it's like fetch, right? We're gonna make fetch work. But oh, I'm gonna turn this. I like this side better. So yeah, it's like fibbing to yourself. It's like saying like, damn, I shouldn't have gotten my hopes up. I'm trying my hardest. And you know, but really you're too, it's scary to think about what you could do different because it feels too overwhelming. It feels too intimidating. And we do that with relationships too, right? Like if something feels like it could be a great relationship, I have done this, and this is a whole bag of tricks from trauma land, right? But like, it's almost like if I see something has the potential to harm me, leave me, hurt me, disappoint me, I used to just push it away. I would find a reason to make me not suited for that good thing. And because I couldn't bear believing that I deserved this good thing, and then this good thing realizing like, because that would be harder than just choosing to be alone, you know? And like, we have all different ways we sabotage. And it's commonly, especially with the subject matter we all work with here, is food. And that doesn't even mean eating a lot. It could mean staying with your baby step to eat enough calories a day. It could be a number of things. So how about this one? I used to look so much better. Whew. How many of you guys have gone back into your photos and you saw a picture from, let's say, even like, doesn't have to be 10 years ago. Let's say it was 2 years ago, right? A year ago, before the pandemic, right? Or some, whatever the hell it is. I used to look so much better, but you're comparing old posed selfies with a summer tan or makeup on to like a current puffy face situation that you're having. It doesn't mean that that's like what you look like. But in that moment, how many times do we put ourselves at a regression state just because we feel like we had like that one picture was, I looked so much better. And chances are back in the day when you had that when you first saw that picture, you probably didn't care for it. And now you're looking at it with fresh eyes. The one thing to take away from that is perception. It's all perception. You know, or we look at pictures of us before diagnosis, or before having a kid, before going through loss, you know, before, I don't know, entering a global plague that has lasted for 2 years and out of the blue just got insane again. You know, like these are all real things that may or may not have been happening in that picture that you're comparing to. But we do it, and we sabotage ourselves with that belief, because I've been there where I could be having a great day. Nothing's bothering me. I'm not feeling bad about food. I'm not feeling bad about my body, like in the past, you know, and all of a sudden I'll be looking through my phone and like for dog pictures or something, and I'll see an old selfie and I'll be like, I don't remember my jawline looking that like sharp. It's not as sharp now. We are all guilty of it, but it's a day ruiner for no reason, for absolutely no reason. It doesn't mean any different about the trajectory that you are on. It doesn't mean anything about what you can do. It just means that at one point in your life, on a picture, for whatever reason, for numerous reasons, that is what you looked like in that instant, and that is how the photo developed, versus now. Also, that doesn't factor in the physical shit. Like the fact that the camera lenses, they're slightly tilted. So especially like the selfie one, it's reversed and tilted. So it always makes this look wider than it actually is. Have you ever noticed you got that weird like 8 shape head on a selfie? Like when you're like on FaceTime, especially when you're video chatting with someone, it's like, whoa, I don't know how the hell to angle this thing. So lenses matter, lighting matters, makeup matters, your tan, the time of year, how much vitamin D you're getting matters. If you recently showered before the picture, did you know the momentum of movement of just showering moves around stagnant lymph and stagnant fluid? So you may look more taut or toned after a shower. There are a million reasons why, but I used to look so much better. And that could ruin our motivation for the day, how serious we take taking care of ourselves, you know? So how do we fix it? This is where the annoying part comes in, right? You have to decide, not that you don't feel this way anymore, because that doesn't work. If that was the case, we could all be walking around in delusion and, like, you know, living fake happy lives. But it's the decision to learn how, or I'm sorry, it's the decision to no longer want to view things that way. To no longer want to view things that way. Because we don't realize subconsciously how often it's like we want to feel that way, you know, as that self-sabotaging, like, I'm going to stick it to you because you've disappointed me kind of way, right? So you have to decide that you want to, you no longer want to be that way, and that you're determined to learn how to change it, because with that comes the commitment to time and imperfection. You're going to not feel as great one day as you do another. You're going to feel like sometimes you go backwards versus forward. Watch the last Zoom. That was a good one for that. You know, it's not always going to be the same. You just have to have the goal of wanting to learn how to be different. You just have to know that I felt this way in the past, and I'm really determined to learn how to not think that way in the future because it's not serving me. And then you work towards it, and that's the work we do. So give it time. I'm going to give you guys a little acronym. Okay. So give it time while putting the effort into let. Let. L, learn to lose judgment. I'm going to type this out as I say it. Learn to lose judgment. Okay. E, evaluate. Oh my God, I didn't spell that right. Evaluate ease. Oh wait, no, get rid of ease. I don't know why I put that in there. Done for the day. Evaluate. It's just simply evaluate. All right. Strike it from the record. T, tell yourself. Okay. So learn to lose judgment. And now this took a little bit of honesty with myself. I used to judge the shit out of other people, if you could believe it. Back in the day when I was just like a trauma riddled mess, and I was angry at everything and felt everything was unfair, I judged the shit out of people. And I hated myself. It wasn't like I was equal opportunity. I just had a grim outlook on like everyone, I guess, myself included. And how many of you guys can say you've been in that place? I feel like that's like a taboo thing to talk about, but in all honesty, you can't grow unless you can admit where you had to grow from, right? If we're all so great, it's like taking a car to a mechanic and being like, no, my car's fine. We're all working on some shit, right? So for me, that judgment of others came from a place of lack of control for myself. If I worked so hard to try and do everything the right way and to be approved by other people and to be loved and accepted, and I had to struggle to get any of that, then how could somebody, not care? How could somebody, not be trying to lose weight if they didn't have an ideal body? I was one of those people that really tied in health and weight. And I mean, I was so disordered in my own right. I was like, at that point, I was off and on, barely eating or not, so it was just an unhealthy ass place. But I could not learn to give myself forgiveness until I understood why I judged other people. And I absolutely hated it once I realized that was the misery I was putting forward and why I was doing that, because I thought it was about health. I thought it was about, like everybody should just be, worried about being their best self, because I was in constant pursuit of my best self because I was never good enough. So if you are someone who judges other people, or you're not, maybe you're not. I know some of you guys, I feel like I can name from talking to you guys the people that were like, that are your like angels, and like you don't judge anyone. But being honest here, if you do currently, if you don't, and whatever, the message is here is that you got to learn to lose judgment. Judgment is the dumbest shit. And this is what helped me kind of, because I'm not going to go from judging people because I was raised to do so my whole life to all of a sudden realizing it's wrong and then just not. It's not going to happen. So I had to make it more understandable and digestible, right? And for me, I tried to find the logic behind why judge anyone. Can anybody here answer that question? Why? Logically, why does someone have to be a certain size? Logically, why does someone have to cover up? Why does somebody have to dress any type of way? Why does someone have to do anything and have it be judged or approved or disapproved by anybody else? What is the point of judgment? I could not find this answer. Self-validation to be included in society, but judging someone else doesn't do that. It doesn't cause that. Someone could be judging you. It doesn't guarantee you an entry. And judgment doesn't mean, like, how do I want to say this? If I'm judging somebody for their weight, how do I know that they're not in the gym constantly more than me? How do I know they don't run circles around my ass? I don't. So I thought about it. I'm like, judgment's kind of a waste of time, and I don't like being wrong. Like I don't like putting incorrect information out there as a person. It's just so why would I promote the idea that like this person is this way and be wrong? So really, we get nothing out of judgment. Judgment's incorrect because you're guessing. You don't know for shit. None of us do. So it's incorrect. It's, just, it doesn't serve anything. It doesn't generate anything. It doesn't, even though you may feel like self-validation because you're judging somebody else, like, oh, I don't look as bad as they do. But like, do you still feel good about the way you look? Just because you don't feel as bad about looking the way you would if you look like someone else? That's what I mean. Like nothing really came from judgment. So it didn't need to exist in my world, was my conclusion. I've always been a special bird, right? I'm like, if it doesn't make sense to me, fuck it, right? So no, but in this regard, I was like, really, like, what would I hurt? Who would I hurt if I didn't judge? If I didn't judge myself, if I didn't judge others? Again, this took time to work towards. But in the beginning, how I got to the decision that I no longer wanted to judge others, that I no longer wanted to judge myself, this is what got me to that point of being like, it's a waste of time. I don't want to do it anymore. So, and that's what started it, is like, what a useless, non-existent thing that does nothing. Evaluate. This is a good one. Okay. This is not making excuses for yourself. First of all, why do we have to be, has being a drill sergeant towards yourself gotten anybody the result long-term that they've ever wanted? Not I, said the cat, not me. So why do we do it? Why do we feel like subconsciously we have to, like, because the battle is so difficult, our methods have to be difficult? That's not the case. Like, why do we, it's like, if there's any enjoyment in it, it's not as real. If there's any enjoyment or happiness in your life and you're trying to lose weight, like, you're not doing it right. What? Who created that? Skinny people? Like, that's bullshit. So evaluate. Stop trying. Don't say to yourself, well, no, I mean, like, I don't want to make excuses. I should know better. sitting there and saying I should know better is never going to get you to a solution. So it hasn't yet. You just keep saying I got to do better, and then you don't. But there's a reason. It's not because you suck. It's because that's the thing we have to look at. So we got to evaluate it. So let's say you are self-sabotaging. So you're about to get into the spiral of, you know, this doesn't work. This always happens. I should have known. I used to look so much better. Evaluate. Is it your period? Is your period coming? Did your period just end? Have you been baby step friendly except for true worth it moments? How many true worth it moments? This is part, maybe where you're at right now is part of factoring that into the next worth it moment. Did you have a fight recently with someone? Screaming matches? A screaming match could take a week to get over hormonally, easily. The amount that your blood pressure rises, the amount of just adrenaline that is queued up from the freaking ground up in a hormonally exhausted body to make it possible for you to fight. Whew. Did you sleep? Have you been sleeping? Have you been on your phone late into the night? And this is not, I'm not saying any of this for you to be like, check, I suck. I'm saying this because if you get rid of judgment, then that means you're agreeing to not feel bad about any of this shit, because all it is information. All it is an evaluation. If you were at a job, if someone said, hey, these are the things we need you to improve for you to continue working here and for this to be a good thing, versus, hey, you didn't do any of the things we evaluate you on, so you're fired, get out. What would you prefer? Would you prefer the heads up to know what to improve? Or would you rather just, it's such a funny thing to lift in the middle of that sentence, or would you rather, you know, just try to get it right, all knowing? Like, hopefully you're clairvoyant and you know what someone wants from you. So don't be afraid to evaluate. It's not a I suck competition. It's a what is an area, like if I want a solution, like if I want a result, sorry, and I am doing something that I'm thinking is not working. This goes back to the, you know, like this never works, this always happens kind of thing. Let me evaluate what I'm actually doing. Let me see what's not working, right? Alcohol. So 'tis the season, right? You know, and honestly, like I'm not purposely sober. For me, alcohol is a worth it moment now in my life because it really flares up my body so badly. Like my RA, you know, and it's not just like my PCOS and my Hashimoto's. It's like it could easily take a week out of my, you know, optimal self. Like it's bad. The pain is crazy. So sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes I want to have a drink. Sometimes I really, you know, I want to enjoy, but that factors into how much, because it's beyond a certain point. It's not fun. Not to mention my face. I look like I've gained like 15 pounds overnight for that week, you know, for the 1 or 2 drinks that I'm going to have that one time. I had some coquito the other day. I wanted some so bad this whole season. I ended up, I don't have a hookup down here yet. I had to buy the Bacardi one. I drank it, puffy. I don't care. You know, I knew I was going to be. So evaluate. That goes into your evaluation. Are you comparing the right time of day, situation, age, time period? What else is different in your life from that picture you saw that you're comparing yourself to now? Situationally, what has changed? Because you got to compare the right things. You can't compare apples to oranges here, right? But we do that, and that's why we self-sabotage, because all of this logically makes sense. But in the moment, we're just sitting there being like, why don't I see my chin? You know, happens. Tell yourself, okay, literally the CIA has released so many studies on this. You can actively brainwash yourself you can be actively brainwashed by hearing repetitive statements, sounds, dialogue over and over and over again. By being told the same thing over and over and over and over again, you begin to believe it. This is why the abuse cycle is so insidious. Because we sit here and we say like, leave, you know, but like as if the person, you know, there's had done a thought in their head. But when they hear the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, that they're wrong, they're causing this, they're the reason, if they change, things would change, things will get better, all of those things over and over and over, and they believe that. Everyone does. Anyone does, in any form of abuse. Narcissistic abuse, insidious as hell, because it completely changes your thoughts on yourself and your validation. Am I right to think this? Am I right to say something? Right? So from what you hear from others, from society, from yourself, that is the dialogue you hear constantly. That's your programming. So people, you hear this message, right? I don't expect a single one of you to take this. If this is the first time we've had this talk, I don't expect any of you to take this and be like, oh, wow, my life has changed. I think completely different now. This is all meant to just plant seeds. This takes time. And part of the time goes into the effort in telling yourself differently. Change that dialogue. It's not easy. You're not going to believe it at first. It has to be a actual intentional effort. Again, going back to the decision to want to feel differently. So tell yourself what you want to believe. Argue with yourself. When you're sitting there and you're saying, I don't even know why I try. It's the holidays. Like, I'm not even going to be good. I'm talking like a newbie, but I'm not even going to be good. There's no point, you know. I'll just really like try and put effort in after everything is done, like after the holidays and blah, blah, blah. So let's do it. L, learn to lose judgment. That decision's coming from a place of judging yourself. Because it's the holidays. I can't be counted on to have a choice on what it is I do and how I act, how I eat, all those things. It's the holidays. I mean, I can't be somebody who cares about this that much. I'm not worthy of that. You're judging yourself. E, evaluate. You know, last holiday, I just went in on those. I couldn't stop myself. What was different? Do you have a mentor? Did you have a mentor? I mean, did you have a community behind you who could help you? You know, did you have tools that we've worked on? Those are new things, even if the situation is the same. So the decision to want to feel differently, you would evaluate and say, like, what do I need to do differently? Like, how can I go about this differently? What is different about this situation? T, tell yourself, I am going to go with the intention of eating things I enjoy that don't make me feel like shit. And if I see something I really want to have, I'm going to trust myself to be able to have that thing and keep it moving. And I can have as much or as little of it as I want to feel satisfied, because I'm only going to eat things that I really are special, are worth it, are delicious, are worth feeling shitty. And if something is, great. If it isn't, I don't need it. You might not believe all that shit at first. It's okay. You just gotta keep on saying, like amp yourself up. If you were your friend, right? Would you talk to them the way you talk to yourself? I say that all the time to you guys. So, you know, what was an analogy before we switch over to the lovely Dana? What this analogy I said? It was like, don't be resentful for what your body has put you through. This is a loaded statement, so feel free to text me because I want to explain this as someone who's been sick like my whole life. But we look at what our body puts us through more than we look at what our body gets us through. Because illness sucks, which is an understatement, a simplified understatement. And ultimately, we kind of have a crusade against our body when we're stuck with chronic illness. But ultimately, it could just crap out on us. The shit our body gets us through every day, the fact that we are in pain as if it's easy on our, like you know, it's almost like the body is like this taunting asshole that we consider that's like doing this for fun. You know, no, it's like it's hard on our body too. So if this whole entity is struggling, then why are we treating it like look at what you're putting me through, instead of like, thanks for really fucking trying to get me through this. Damn, this is rough. So this takes commitment. And because you may feel resistant to changing that thought process, right? Out of fear. So my question for you, if you're having a hard time with the idea that you would want to not judge people, that you would want to evaluate what isn't working for you and troubleshoot, that you would want to tell yourself a different dialogue to believe, all of those things, what are you afraid of when it comes to fully buying into that and changing how you have felt about yourself, about these self-sabotaging type of things? You know, what scares you about letting those things go and choosing not to judge yourself anymore? I really thought this was a vintage mug because I got it in a estate sale. Funny side story. It says Teleflora on the bottom. I don't think it's vintage. It was still cheap. It's cute, but I totally got duped. They're like, this mug's from the 70s. Assholes. But okay. I'm afraid of being okay. I know that's weird, but for real, I'm afraid of not being sick. I totally understand. Like, I can't explain it, but I get it. Like, it's almost like it is validation in a way, and we wouldn't know what to do with ourselves necessarily without the struggle we also resent. I don't even feel like that does it justice, but I have definitely felt the way you just described and felt like that was a whacked out thing to explain to other people. So thank you for saying it, but because I agree. It's not that you want to be sick, because who the hell wants that, you know? But it's like hey, for better or for worse, if it becomes a big part of your identity, it's kind of like I don't know what life would be if not for this struggle. My lips are so chapped. I keep seeing it and getting distracted by it. I apologize. So ask yourself, and if you don't want to add in the chat, ask it for yourself. Text me it. Why are you most afraid of letting go of wanting to be hard on yourself, wanting to, you know, have a high standard, like where if you don't hit it, you really condemn yourself for it. What makes you afraid to want to let that go? All right. And as you guys ponder that, I'm going to have Miss Dina up here. Hello.
How's it going?
It's going. It's going. I have my pups, so.
Oh,
I know. How are you doing?
pretty good, pretty good.
Awesome.
I took a little nap with my pups today after work.
It's therapy. I mean, like serotonin, the extra rest, honestly.
Oh God, so good, so good.
It should be offered as a therapeutic treatment. Like, you should be able to go somewhere and just lay down with puppies. Yes. So I got our questions here for you, and
Okay.
I wanted to also tell you guys out there, if you have any questions for Dana as well, make sure you add it in the chat. Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself, you know, like where you were mentally, physically, kind of at the start when we first met.
Oh man, when we first met, I felt like I was at peak level desperation. I was at probably one of my lowest of lows. I had gotten to the point where I think I had resigned myself to thinking, well, this was the card that I was dealt, and I'm just going to keep gaining weight until my body just gives up and I die. And hopefully that'll be when I'm younger as opposed to older. I was that low. At that point, I mean, I had tried, probably literally everything, and nothing had worked. And I had gone on meds, and I had gone to multiple doctors, and just nothing helped up to that point. So when I reached out to you and had that first conversation with you, I was very much at that, well, I'll give this a shot. Like anything else, it's either going to work or it's not going to work, and my luck, it won't work, but I have to try something.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, that's where I was at when I made the decision to like stop giving a shit about, and I didn't didn't stop immediately just because I made the decision, but I stopped pursuing the weight loss part of things, where I was just, because I figured it was never going to happen. So why chase a pipe dream necessarily? I felt like that base, like that bottom level desperation, where I was just like, God, I got to make life enjoyable at the least, like I want to do stuff and not feel like crap, and ain't it funny? So what was the first and biggest shock about CCA?
The first and biggest shock definitely would have been the baby steps, because, up to that point, everything that I had done, it was always this huge overhaul. It was this huge undertaking. You got to change everything about your life. We're not going to tell you how to do it though. So we're going to tell you can't do this anymore. You can't eat this. You can't, eat this kind of food, but we're not going to tell you how to start eliminating it out of your diet. So the baby step was the first shock, that, oh my God, I really only need to tweak this one little thing at a time. And I don't have to do this. I don't have to climb a huge mountain right off the bat. And then I would say the biggest shock though would be that the support and the community is present all the time. Whereas I had gotten so used to doctors over the years of, oh, here, we'll do this appointment. We'll have this maybe great, conversation during the appointment. And then I won't see or talk to you again for 6 months. Like, here, good luck. See you in 6 months.
Yep. I totally get that. So the reason we did that was I had a doctor, I'll never forget. I was terrified to go to my endocrinologist appointment as a kid because, being a fat kid with type 1 diabetes, like I couldn't help it. It was autoimmune. It wasn't because I was, nothing I did, but I still got fat shamed as a little kid at the doctor's office, at the endocrinologist's office, while I'm sitting there learning how to like live on shots. And like my family's trying to like figure out how to not let their kid die. Like I'm sitting there and they're like, you got to lose some weight. You're getting a little pudgy. But anyway, I hated the endocrinologist for the longest time. I wonder why. And also I was a bad diabetic. Like my blood sugars were insane. I didn't care. I was depressed. So like, I just like, whatever, and so I went to this I finally mustered the courage to go to this doctor. And right before, like a day before, when they called to confirm, I asked them, I said, should I bring my blood sugars written? This is when I finally was deciding to like get my stuff together and try. I was like, should I have my blood sugars written, or are you guys going to do a pump upload where you just take my monitor and go upload it and print it out there? They're like, no, just bring it. We'll print it out. Not a problem. I got there and the doctor came in. He was late. And now, mind you, if I was 5 minutes late, the appointment would have been canceled. But he was late, and then he got mad at me, and he's like, I'll never forget this. He goes, I can only bill you for 15 minutes. You don't have your blood sugars with you? You were supposed to have them with you already. I can't upload this thing. It's going to take too long. And I had waited, like, I mean, granted, I had pushed it off, but it was still like a 6-month wait between appointments for this doctor had I wanted to urgently go. And I was like floored. So that was one of the appointments that I started thinking, like, if I ever make it to the other side of this is the shit I want to do, And then I left as a bio major to go to culinary school, but hey, here we are. So I guess some shit worked out, huh? So yeah, and baby steps are super important because did you ever experience this? Sometimes it's harder to go the easy route, like making peace with just doing that one thing and not like doing everything you think sounds good to do.
Yes.
What was that like for you?
There's a quote from A League of Their Own that pops into my head when I think about that. And it's where Tom Hanks tells Gina Davis's character, the hard is what makes it great, when he's talking about baseball. And that's what you're told over and over again, all throughout your years, is if something's worth it, you have to work hard for it. So if it's easy, you're not gonna get much of a result. It's that whole risk reward ratio kind of thing. So I had it in my head when that first when I was given my first baby step, I'm like, that's it. That
Yeah.
hmm, okay, well, we'll see how this goes. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what comes to mind is that Tom Hanks quote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We feel it has to match the severity of what we're experiencing, you know? Plus, we're all running away from the lazy fat lady or lazy fat person, you know, image. God forbid, you know, where
Right.
that lazy, mean fat person, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's all just a bunch of bullshit. You know, it should be easy because it should not cause stress. It should be doable
Right.
long term,
Yeah.
you know? Why?
Yeah.
Why? Because we have health issues, we should stress more than others.
Right.
Crazy.
But like I
So,
said, we're conditioned, the bigger the risk, the bigger reward. So we kind of take that as,
mhm.
well, if it's a smaller risk, then it's going to be a smaller reward. And that's not the case in this program. That's not the case at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Um, what do you think changed your perspective the most?
Um, honestly, I would say repeatedly watching the Zooms. I would say it, honestly, it was getting the concepts in my head and hearing it so much over and over and over again that it just became like, okay, that's where my mindset is now.
It's that
It was,
CIA brainwashing, I'm telling
yeah,
you.
yeah, kind of, in a way, it was flooding my brain with the Zooms, with all the different concepts to cover. I would be at work. I'm with being a probation officer, I'm often doing case notes at work. So
Mhm.
I'm sitting at my desk, I'm entering case notes, and while I'm sitting there, I'll listen to music for a while, and then I'll go, okay, well, it's time to listen to a Zoom. So I'll put a Zoom on while I'm doing my case notes.
I love that. Attach a routine to a routine. That's the
Yeah,
only way I ever get anything done, truly. Like, I have to take my meds, I take them, I have them next to my bed, because if I get out of my bed and do anything else, I without attaching it to my getting out of bed routine, I will forget.
yeah.
So yeah.
And with that, so like when I'm at work and I'm doing the Zooms during the course of a work week, because I noticed that I was having a hard time, like, oh crap, like which one should I watch today? Should I watch one that I've watched a few times? Do I need a refresher on that one? That I was getting kind of like, I was getting caught up in like, oh, which one's important? Which one's important? So that's when I went to the days of the week. So I had Mindset Monday, Talk Tuesday, Wait Wednesday, Thirsty Thursday, and Free Day Friday.
I love that. Oh my God.
So
Can
then,
you when we post a recording, could you comment that? That's awesome. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah,
That's such a
I love
fun
it because
way.
then it takes that stress off of me of trying to pick which one I need to watch that day.
Yeah. No, and also it's kind of like when you have an idea of kind of what you're looking for, if you find one that strikes you, like just stands out to you, maybe sometimes like there's a reason, that's the one that grabbed your attention. But looking through that whole classroom can get really overwhelming if like it's like going to a department store and like knowing what you're going for. Like, I'm
Yeah,
looking for an outfit for this event, or I'm looking for shoes, or something like that. There's still shoes to choose from, but at least it helps narrow it
yeah,
down. So I love
yeah,
that.
that helps. Yeah.
I love it. Um, how do you make this fun still? Because the other side of a things becoming a lifestyle or becoming second nature is that we think about them less. And when we think about them less, we can feel like less excited by it, or we can feel like we're on autopilot, or maybe we're not doing well. How do you kind of keep this
Yeah.
enjoyable and fun still?
So the big thing for me is having seen positive results. That's the biggest motivator for me. So that helps with still wanting to actively pursue this daily. Um Making it fun, little things like like I said, with the Zooms, with Mindset Monday, Talk Tuesday, like doing little quirky things like that usually makes me chuckle and helps things a little bit. um and then one of the Zooms you talked about collecting coins or collecting tokens.
Mhm.
And in my head, I always picture Sonic the Hedgehog. And so
Mhm.
like when I get kind of like in that monotonous routine and everything, I just kind of pretend I'm Sonic the Hedgehog. So I'll
Mhm.
do things throughout the day and I'm like, oh, look at me, I'm catching my tokens. And it makes me giggle and then
I'm gonna
I'm
imagine that
good.
every time. I'm gonna think of like Sonic running through my house every time.
Yes,
Um,
yeah. So I always picture Sonic and collecting his tokens and that's where I go. So I just like pretend I'm Sonic in a game.
I love it. Yeah. Like it has to be, it has to almost feel like you're in on a secret, that other
Yeah.
people don't know. Like, like I'm doing this and it's like fun and easier than what usually like people think they have to do. It kind of feels like you're cheating in a way. Like
Yeah.
I'll tell someone, you said no to that brownie at work. Okay, typically we're taught like, good, you did good, great job. I was like, and anyone who's been with me for a while knows the advice I'm going to say next. And I say, okay, so what are you making that's indulgent tonight?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I don't need anything. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
no one needs dessert, but it has to become something in your mind where it feels like a no-brainer, where it's like, I am making this more fun than if I didn't even care and I ate cake whenever I wanted, because that would have ramifications still.
Yeah.
So I love, it has to be fun and fresh. um Eventually when things become easy to be second nature, the work kind of goes into the fun, to me, like a marriage. Right? Like
Yeah.
it takes that effort to maintain that level of excitement. So now, how do you remember to reach out, or how do you get through the resistance to reach out, let's say, if you are struggling?
So that was something that when I first started the program, I was like, do I want to reach out? But it was so apparent from the get-go that not only were you and the other coaches available at all times, but that the community was as well. And I kept telling myself, nobody's gonna understand this more than they will. You know, Steve, my husband, is my biggest confidant. He's my biggest supporter. He's my biggest emotional support. But he doesn't have this. So he's not going to get that aspect of it. He's going to get kind of the caregiver aspect of it, but he's not going to really get how it feels, what it feels to struggle and all that kind of stuff. So that was what I told myself in the beginning, was like, nobody's going to understand this more than they will.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No judgment. We all been through it, or
Yep.
in some way, some capacity. Um, and I think all of us can come from a place where we would never judge about struggle. Even if some of us are some judgy Judies in here still, like I said, hey, I get it. But at the end of the day, illness is not, and sickness and struggle and stuff, I don't think any of us have it in our nature to judge that. So
Right.
you always, always, if anything, I find I love about you guys, about my clients, is like, even the shy ones are eager and excited to help. I get
Oh,
people
yeah.
reach out to me all the time and they're like, I saw so and so post in the page, like, could you pass this info along? So even if they're shy, it's so cute. And it's because the same thing, it's like when you can relate, it's like, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
So
It's
goes both
almost
ways.
like, yeah, it's almost like there's this secret language that only we can speak to each other,
Hmm.
like almost, it's like a secret society in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Invite only. um
Right.
but
Right.
so, and then lastly, just best overall tip, personal tip.
Best overall tip that I would give is something that I told myself before starting the program, and that was, no matter what, you are going to be open to everything that comes up. If they say we're trying this, you say okay, and you try it. Because we, at this point, because again, I was at peak desperation level. At this point, I was saying, I'm not going to be the skeptic. I'm not going to be the stubborn. I'm not going to be the whole, well, that's never worked for me before, so why would it work now? I told myself from the get-go, you're going to be open and you're going to do this. And if they say this is what the baby step is, or this is what we're doing, you say, okay, and you do it.
And I'm sure when you had that thought process, you thought it was going to be a lot more difficult than, okay, we want you to do gua sha and lymph drainage massage.
Okay. Well, the first baby step was replacing Coke. And I remember getting off
soda, so everyone knows.
Oh yeah. So I remember getting off the phone and I went out to my husband and I was like, dude, she goes right for the jugular. She told me that that's the first one. That's the first one. And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And that's what I woke up every day saying, I'm gonna do this. This is what we're doing. I'm doing it.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be hard necessarily, right? You could do Diet Coke. You could do, it could be, I told you, like, find one you like, find a water flavoring, put it in seltzer, make it fun. But no, Mo, that's where I was like, soda. Just got to specify.
The big one was, I was like, I was a huge Coca-Cola fan, and that was like my drink of choice. And my dad was a huge Coca-Cola fan. I mean, when we first moved into this house 10 years ago, the kitchen was in Coca-Cola, and I'm like, wow, like this is what I'm going to do. And then you guys recommended Coke Zero, and I was like, well, okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll do it. I'll try it. I'll do it. So I did it. And then I stumbled upon Cherry Coke Zero. And that was the game changer for me. And I've been drinking Cherry Coke Zero since.
I love it. I will look for interesting diet sodas, and I get this all the time. Diet soda isn't good. Diet soda has things like, it basically converts to sugar. My diabetic ass disagrees, because if I took insulin for diet soda, I would end up dying of in a diabetic coma, because you can't, there's no insulin response to diet soda whatsoever. I could drink cans upon cans upon cans and my blood sugars will not change. So I love when people come at me with that, because like Instagram, like coaches love to harp on the aspartame, the fake sugar. This is the best for you, no. But is holding a cell phone to your head all day the best for you? No. So like, this is the age we live in. Nothing's great. This right here, So I'm literally in front of a microwave doing this demonstration. There's a million things we can look at. It's kind of like if it's going to keep you from triggering your insulin resistance and severely harming yourself in having the regular, Coke, then go for the freaking Cherry Coke Zero. Like it ain't it's a better thing. So awesome. I love that. Now they ran out of my soda, my Orange Dry, that one that I just started raving about. Cannot find it anywhere. I bought out all their bottles and it's been like 2 weeks. They have not re-upped. I know it's only been 2 weeks, but they have not re-upped. I cannot find it anywhere else, and you can't order it online for less than like $50 a case. Insane. It's like $4 a can online, like insane. I guess, I don't know. It was I came onto the trend beforehand. I don't understand. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you for having me.
Do we have any questions for Dana? Anyone want to throw any in there before we jump? I'm trying to scroll here. Yep. And then you said sometimes you watch and sometimes you just listen. Yeah, I do that with Zooms, other Zooms. For me, for my ADHD, I find that I like to watch it, and then I'll wait for the recording posting to go and actually like do it for note taking, so I can pause it, so I can rewind it if I miss something, especially because I talk with crackheads sometimes. But so but you said you sometimes listen, sometimes don't, depending on what strikes you.
Yeah,
basically. Love it. In the planner too, if you guys saw, I have at the end of the week, I got the page here for Zoom 1, Zoom 2, so you guys can keep your notes all in the same place. Because if I didn't have something like this, I would take notes on like loose leaf and napkins and crazy shit. So love that. Okay, I love the idea of the daily thing. Yep. And then My cats are Sonic. Oh, yeah.
I
So
I did put the days of the week in the comments. It's
love it.
under, yeah, it's under Becky and
Mhm.
above Beth.
Okay. Yep. We got Mindset Monday, Talk Tuesday, Wait Wednesday, Thirsty Thursday, Free Day Friday. I love that.
Yeah, that's
Love it.
fun.
Way to chunk your week. Love
Yeah.
it.
I love it.
Okay, so let's see, anything else? Grapefruit dry is next on my list. I can't find it in diet anywhere, and I want to try it so bad. Be careful though, no grapefruit within a couple hours of taking thyroid meds, everybody.
Ooh.
It like cancels it out. Not fully, but like it's not really 100% known the full effect depending on the person. It just definitely affects it. So few hours after taking thyroid meds for any grapefruit stuff. We have the Diet Orange Dry here, Polars and MA. Oh my God, that'd be so good. No, now I just want to go to Massachusetts and tour the factory. Like, I need an excuse for a trip. But yeah, my pups are home. All right, so thank you guys. Dana, thank you for sharing, being with us. And I hope you guys all have a fabulous New Year's Eve, whether it's, you know, with people, without people. I hope it's safe, happy, healthy. We're here for you. If you need anything, you know, shoot us a text. There is no sense in hiding struggles. That's our favorite thing to work through. So enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.